Greetings, everyone, and welcome. October the 28th, 2025. Professor Gertis and I are coming with a special update for you guys today. We are witnessing a 100% Soviet KGB operation of misinformation over the last few days. They've really ramped it up from Putin in the uniform to the Lavrov spewing nonstop about Alaska. So we need to get into it because of what happened in Minsk today. Welcome.
It's actually pretty clever. Like the way
It's
that you almost have to admire the way that they have systematically laid out what they're doing.
So this is not new. And guys, if you're wondering what we're talking about the weaponization of the Alaska summit. Russia absolutely utilizing this to their advantage. And Prof, I looked it up, working there for so many years, over 30, I understand that mentality. They take one little bit of information and hammer, 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 hammer. So in prep for our video, I actually did a little historical research, and it's actually a tactic that the Soviet Union and KGB taught called the fire hose of falsehood.
Falsehood. Yeah.
Correct. So repeat a narrative long enough, number one, with thematic persistence, multi-channel amplification, and then weaponize a grain of truth, erode trust, and repeat. This is what we're witnessing.
If you guys want to know what the fire hood of falsehood is, just Google it. You'll find it. The Rand Corporation did an excellent piece about it, and it'll just come up as like one of the first few things if you Google the phrase fire hood of falsehood.
There you go. You have it, guys. And today, over the next 15, 20 minutes, we're going to take you right inside, and you will be able to recognize as well what is happening. So Minsk today, there was a conference. It's a couple of days long. It's the third Minsk International Conference on Eurasian Security. I did the research on it. We had governmental leaders of Belarus, Russia, North Korea, China, India, Iran, Hungary, Myanmar, UAE, Tajikistan, Cambodia, Oman, Uzbekistan, and others. But in addition, confirmed 200 analysts, military specialists, and researchers from leading academic centers in places even like Spain, Serbia, United States, UK, Sweden, Finland. Pretty big conference today where Lavrov was the keynote speaker. Yeah.
Charming. I mean, it's a great assembly of autocrats on the top tier. On the bottom tier, you got a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's all authoritarians or authoritarian sympathizers, like illiberal democracies that are trying to pretend like they're a democracy, even if they aren't.
And what is so interesting is the analysts that are there from all over the world. Of course, they're not the ones speaking. They may have breakout sessions, but they're listening to the Lukashenkos and the Lavrovs, and we've got it all for you. This fire hose of falsehood, you're going to experience it today. So let's start right here. We'll start with the host of the event, and Prof has not heard these clips yet, so I'm going to play it and then just get his response on it. So this was Lukashenko. He said, "Everyone is trying to fool us, but they do not realize that we are way too smart for them." There's still a little game playing going on. Out of Belgium, they want to get something from us, or maybe not, but if we claim those frozen reserves as Russian, and then they're taken, international law crumbles. What the hell? It's already blown to pieces anyway. All they're doing is trying to fool us, but we're way too smart for them. Sorry for the little colorful word there, but I'm translating him. That's what he said. International law is destroyed anyway.
Well, no, go back to the first point. So to take this, the reason that they haven't taken it so far is because they don't have any legal grounds on which to take it. I've maintained from the very beginning, and this is not a popular view on my channel, that they shouldn't be taking this because you're really monkeying with the international order. Now, I'm giving you a second reason that not to do this. If you take that, Putin is going to say, well, you took ours. We're nationalizing all the Western companies that are still here. So Putin's going to get it. So the oligarchs will lose their money, and that'll go to the West. And all the Western companies will lose their money, and that'll go back to Putin's government. So essentially, the big winner here is Putin, who doesn't the Russian government, whatever, that didn't have something. It's not like that money is theirs anyway. It's the oligarchs' money. So the oligarchs lose, Putin wins, and I think he's been threatening that he's going to do this. I think he will do that if that money is seized.
It's not a
I
popular.
understand the rationale.
It's not a popular narrative that people want to hear, but we're here to also not only inform, but educate. And a good example of what you're referring to is the new sanctions that are going to be in place against Lukoil and Rosneft. Germany already in a quagmire because of the connections with Rosneft and offices intertwined with the German government and finances. And Russia has its webs everywhere. So if we start taking frozen assets, they can flip that narrative really quick. They have investment everywhere. So it's not the easy way out.
It sounds easy until you realize just what all happens. Yeah.
We go into complete I guess you have to listen to Lukashenko then. Everything's just blown to HE double hockey stick. Now, let's get to Lavrov, because Lavrov, the keynote speaker today in Minsk, and he gave a 22-minute lecture. I will not bore you with that. I will take one clip from that and one clip from his press conference that you need to hear. But in his speech, which I listened to and have, he said the West is openly preparing for a new large-scale European war. He stated to this group that NATO expansion never stops for a minute despite prior commitments. And just recently, guys, Russia has been releasing these maps of NATO expansion going all the way back to the origin of NATO, and then how it's pushed toward Russia. They're utilizing that as a tactic. He says Russia has no intention of attacking any NATO country and is ready to formalize this in security guarantees. I do believe just a couple of days ago, he said we're also ready if we can get to an agreement to explain why some Russian drones went into Poland, but we're not going to attack a NATO country. Fourth, Moscow hopes President Trump remains committed to peace in Ukraine, and listen very closely here before I go to page 2, and to the approaches he agreed to at the Alaska summit. This is what we're talking about. He said, Lavrov stressed that the peace proposals on Ukraine were originally based on the United States initiatives that were delivered from Steve Witkoff. He says, we hope Donald Trump seeks lasting peace and not more weapons for the Kyiv regime. Of course, that's referring to Tomahawk and others. Russia needs guarantees that a Putin-Trump meeting will yield concrete results, or there'll be no meeting. And he then, quote, everyone has gone quiet after we tested of our new Burevestnik cruise missile. So this was his speech and talking points. Before I play any clips of him, you got any thoughts on those?
I mean, I'm not sure which direction to attack first. If you go back to the screen again and go back to the previous thing. Okay, point 2, NATO expansion never stops for a minute. It's demonstrably proven that Gorbachev himself said we never had a guarantee. You can actually see the document where they say, well, we talked about this, but we didn't actually iron anything out. So to say that, we had an agreement and NATO kept expanding anyway, full on Philistine pig ignorance. That is not what happened.
Firehood of falsehood.
Moscow. Russia has no attacking any NATO country. They said just before they attacked Ukraine, we're not going to attack Ukraine. We can show you evidence after. So their statements are not worth the paper it's printed on, or the ether in which the words go into. I mean, it's just one thing after another.
Solovyov tonight talking about how they're going to bomb London and Paris again. So, hey, this is just what they do, but the narrative continues. So let's go to clip number 2 here. And this is Lavrov during his speech. Take a listen here and we'll get your comment. European and NATO members are prolonging the conflict in Ukraine by arming Kyiv and offering financial and political support. Most European leaders are urging the United States to abandon negotiations for a settlement in Ukraine addressing the root causes of the issue. We hope that President Trump still aims to resolve the Ukrainian crisis by sticking to the principles that were at the Alaska summit based on the United States proposals. There you go. Straight up.
Okay, so most leaders are urging him to do that. I'm
Mhm.
sure there are some. I'm sure that Orban and Fico and others are doing it, but most leaders, that
Most leaders
most
that they
European
care
leaders,
about. So for them, let me interject here. For them, Macron is illegitimate because he's a Napoleon wannabe. Now they're harping on the 2,000 soldier narrative. France is going to send 2,000 soldiers. We're going to kill them all. And Starmer, they do not see him as illegitimate. They're still caught up screaming about Boris Johnson being the warmonger for Britain. So the leaders they refer to here are Orban,
yeah.
also Sujarto, who actually spoke at this event. You're going to hear him in just a moment in perfect Russian, by the way. But my point being is they have the Alaska summit stuck in their craw,
Yeah.
and they're not going to leave that narrative. I
Well,
still
this is a good.
I still
Go ahead.
suggest
This is
that
a
there
good
were
narrative
things.
because it.
Witkoff messed it up, man. I'm just telling
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So there's a couple things there. What? So first, it's a great narrative for them because they get to flip the script and say, "See, we wanted peace, and you walked away from it." And second, Witkoff messed it up. Did he mess it up accidentally? I'm not going to get into
Mhm.
conspiracy theories, right? But there's a range
Right.
of options. One, he messed it up accidentally. Two, he messed it up on purpose for some reason. Three, they messed him up because remember they had the translator, and then they could say what they're saying now. I mean, there could be a fourth option or a fifth option. I don't know, but that miscommunication they're seizing on, and they're going to run with it and run with it and
If
run with it.
if I had to take a guess today, it would be they were in complete control of. They had him so spun in circles. I mean, the
Well, they
man's
had
trying.
control of the meeting.
They had complete control of the meeting,
Yeah.
complete control of the narrative, and they recognized that here is a guy that knows nothing about Russia or Ukraine, and he's here
Mhm.
to be the envoy for President Trump. It's just not going to work to their advantage, but we're going to use it for ours, and that's
Yeah.
what they do. Now, I want to go clip 3, which is Lavrov in his press conference just a little while ago. Listen to this. Regarding the change in the position of President Trump, and yes, of course, it was surprising that he suddenly returned to positions that seem to have been long since exhausted and which only reflect the desire of Europeans and the Zelensky regime to get a pause in order to rearm the Kyiv regime. How do they call it there? What, the president's office, the armed forces of Ukraine, all these components of the Kyiv regime. And President Trump, after Alaska, repeatedly said that what is needed is a long-term sustainable peace, not some temporary ceasefire that will achieve nothing, even if it lasts for a year or two. Those are his words. So I hope that this logic of establishing long-term peace, which has been adopted by the United States, will prevail. Masterpiece, brother.
Yeah,
And
it's clever
also,
because his words were ceasefire, and then he flipped, and now he's using his words. And if they wanted to go back to the other, they could go and say that those were his words.
mhm.
Yeah,
And
it's clever.
we have learned that Alaska really didn't go well. Trump was frustrated, and this is confirmed from U.S. people that were in the know,
Yeah.
Russian people that came out and said the same thing, even Ukrainians that were trying to get whatever information they could. It just didn't go well. Putin lectured. They questioned Witkoff. We know that. Didn't you agree to this? Didn't you agree to that? Didn't you agree to this? This is all facts. They canceled the lunch. Trump was not the happiest. In fact, today when I was working on a thumbnail, I went and looked at pictures after that talk, and he was obviously frustrated and rattled. You can just go, guys, just Google post Alaska summit images and you will see it in the face. And now Trump's in Japan, in Europe, in Southeast Asia, may meet Kim Jong-un, China, whatever, and they are going after it full bore. Using his own words. This is what they do. They're really good at it.
I wonder how off guard Trump was, because like that was the piece that you were talking about was the Financial Times, and they were talking about how Putin was saying like, Trump was hearing for the first, wait, they canceled a whole religion, and he asked multiple times, right? The Ukrainians, they canceled this whole like he's just not been informed all the way through.
Correct.
So so did he finally hear that Witkoff said this, but and so it seems like Witkoff really bungled something, and again I'm just trying to piece it together. I'm not saying that I know for a fact, but that's what it appears to be. So
I would concur with that, and the proof is in the pudding. We see what we have now. We have the war escalating. We have agreements being ripped up between the United States and Russia. Russia tore up the plutonium agreement. We have rhetoric that has increased. We have saber rattling with weapons, whether they work, don't work. It doesn't matter. The saber rattling is there. President back, well, we've got nuclear subs on your border, and then the Venezuela connection is going to grow and grow and grow. Russia signing their agreement with Venezuela, United States looking like it's going to do some type of operation in Venezuela. And then on top of that, right now, just today, Israel wanted to attack Gaza again heavily, and it was blocked at the last minute by the White House. We've got a,
and that's because Hamas actually did attack Israeli soldiers.
They killed a soldier today.
That is what killed, or that's what prompted that would-be reaction.
Yes, and we just have a cauldron boiling everywhere, and it's really difficult in Ukraine right now. The front, it's just tough. We got some good areas, and we got some extremely tough areas, and Pokrovsk is absolutely boiling, and we just need to remember those guys that are fighting so hard there to defend Pokrovsk. All right, now let's move to one of the big wild cards here, and this is Hungary. I can tell you that today, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó, the future architecture of the European security must include Russia. He was there in Minsk saying, he said, whether we agree or disagree on key issues is another matter, but Russia's geographic presence and reality are undeniable. To ignore this fact and build a security system on its denial is simply unrealistic. I have him translated for you just a little bit here. And no, I do not know Hungarian, but he's speaking Russian. Dear colleagues, thank you for inviting me here. For me, it is a great honor to be invited for the third time. Of course, I will be criticized a lot for my participation, but the global security situation is so bad that I must be here today. And then he goes on and gives his speech and those statements that I told you. That's the beginning of his statement there.
Okay, so Russia, security architecture, something about it, you got to build it with Russia in mind, or
yeah, I can take you back to that. Yeah. It must be there. You can't ignore the Russian reality.
Yeah, you can't ignore them, but you have to recognize what they are, right? And that pretty much when bad things are kicking off, Russia seems to have its hand in the pot, right? Syria, the Lebanese, not Hamas, it's Hezbollah, Venezuela, North Korea, Iran. I mean, like, like wherever bad things are really brewing in a meaningful way, Russia seems to want to
Listen,
have a part in it. So, yeah, you have to reliably
massive,
recognize.
massive murder of South Sudanese over the last 24 hours. I've had the horrible videos where they're just lining up people and killing them all, and they're killing them with Russian AKs, guys. It's, and I'm not saying, yeah, of course, Russia supplied weapons, but it's backed by, this group that's doing it's actually backed by the UAE. I mean, we have a whole big boiling mess on this planet, and
Yeah,
we have to
I mean,
fight
they
on for
they just
truth.
seem to be wherever bad things happen, like, Russia either is part of it or would like to have a part of it and stir in that pot. You're on. Yep. There you go.
I remembered I had that under t-shirt on. All right, let's do this, guys. Let's stick with Hungary for a moment, because a couple of days ago, Orban talking about he will be going to DC potentially next week to discuss with Donald Trump the importance of Russian oil, and he doesn't understand the entire picture. Additionally, Orban also speaking over the last 48 hours about a coalition and an alliance between Hungary, Czech, and Slovakia.
Mhm.
Okay, so all of this kind of boiling, but this is Orban. I'm quoting him. He said, sanctions can't push Russian oil off the global market. Quote, I do not believe that the products of any major raw material producer can be excluded from the global market. You can set rules against them. Sanctions are in effect now, but their nature is such that all of them are circumvented. And it's quote, second quote, the EU's adoption of a 19th sanctions package shows the previous ones were not successful, end quote. Third quote, there are things that can be achieved by political methods, even against business logic, and there are those things that are impossible, end of third quote.
So this bit about the EU's adoption of a 19 sanctions package shows that the previous ones were unsuccessful. He's kind of right. I've been saying this for a long time. Like every time there's another one, a 17th package, the 18th package, a 19th package, I'm like, well, why couldn't you have done this sooner? Now I know that sometimes they didn't know which shadow fleet vessels to do, but they could have done this like the oil one. They could have done this a long, long time ago, years ago, but they're just finally getting to it. So he's not entirely wrong about that point. But we need to keep doing more and more and more until they feel the pain.
Once again, though, we have a reoccurring theme here, and this is what we're going to close out with. Okay. Like Lavrov is taking a grain of truth. They had a misunderstanding, disagreement, or however it ended up in Alaska, and now they're hammering it. Did they have
Mhm,
a miscommunication? Yes, somewhere. So they're just going to hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. Did
mhm,
Trump change from uh, peace deal to ceasefire to peace deal to ceasefire and flip flop? Yes. So they hammer it and hammer it. And it's just
mhm,
like the last thing. Orban hammers sanctions and Russian energy, and he'll just hammer it and hammer it
mhm.
and hammer it. Now, the last thing that Russia is hammering is that Ukraine is not responding to their calls to talk, to have operational groups, and it's not Russia's fault at all. We've done
Yeah.
everything.
Russia wants peace apparently, and
It's
it's
all
Ukraine that's getting in
Kiev's
the way.
fault.
That's the way that they're gonna say it.
Peskov today, Lavrov in Minsk, Peskov in Moscow, he said everything is in the hands of Kiev and their regime, and they do not respond to us. The fault lies in Kiev and their unwillingness to negotiate. We are currently unable to assess any prospects for resuming negotiations because, as we have repeatedly stated, the current pause in negotiations is due to the Kiev regime's unwillingness to continue the negotiations and to respond to the questions that we have asked, the draft documents that we have submitted, and the proposals for further working format with various groups. All of this has been left unanswered. That's it. They'll hammer it every day. You'll hear it again tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll be denying responsibility. And the sad truth is that there's going to be cozy folks like Orban and others that will pick that up. And then there'll be sympathetic newspapers that'll pick that up. And there'll be both bots and sympathizers and social media that'll pick that up. And then they'll just create a whole ecosystem of saying, see, Russia wants peace, but Ukraine, they're
I
not
assume
willing
you're
to.
referring to somebody like Representative Luna from Florida.
Well, yeah, it could be someone like that, or the bots that propel Luna. Like once
I
Luna says
understand it,
something,
but when
there's
your
going to be an
hand-
ecosystem of bots and trolls and whatever that will be perpetuating it.
When your hand-delivered flowers from Mother Russia and a box of chocolates with the picture of Putin on it and his greatest sayings, and then you thank Russia for the Kennedy files, and hours later, Besant calls out Luna for communicating with a Russian propagandist, you see that's the circle of flow that comes, but it just continues step by step by step. And this is what they do. It's called the fire hose of falsehood. And over the last 48 hours, it's on full bore, man.
Honestly, and I said this at the very beginning, you almost have to admire, I say almost have to admire it. Like if you're just like looking at it clinically, how effective they're being at this, in this process. I'm not saying that this is admirable in any way, but like they know what they're doing.
I'm just going to say this one time because people will know what I'm referring to. And I am, but not only. They don't flip flop on anything, man. There is no 2 weeks. There is no 6 months. They have their talking points and they will not leave them until they are forced to leave them, whether that is through economic power, falling from the inside out, or defeat. That's the only way. This is ingrained KGB Soviet mindset, and it's like a burr in a saddle. It will not go away until you pluck it out. So this is where we're at. It's a lot. This is a longer update, but this is a lot of information. And if you've made it to this point in the video, we say thank you. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, subscribing. If you don't know Prof and you're on my channel, go check his channel out and subscribe, or vice versa. We appreciate all of you guys.
Thanks, Greg.
Hey, man, thank you. And we'll be talking.